and good day to everyone. Dr. Abdul Basil Said, founder, chairman of the World Humanitarian Drive, WHD. His Excellencies Wela Level Mandla Mandela Nkosi Chief and member of the South African Parliament, Her Worship Maddie Henson, Mayor of Croydon. Mr. Robin Marsh, Moderator and Secretary General of UPF UK. Ms. Viva Andra O'Flynn, co-host and Global Media Relations Head of the World Humanitarian Drive. Members of the international media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As patron of the World Humanitarian Drive, I welcome His Excellency Zwelivel Mandla Mandela Nkosi Chief, who comes from a legacy of conscience-driven ideology and action built on fundamental values of integrity, human rights, and justice for all. The world is in great need of conscience-driven leadership that encourages peace, harmony, order, compassion, and mutual respect as part of the governance model. Leaders are required to be enablers and advocates of peace and harmony, always defending, protecting, and sustaining the common good. We need leaders who are always true to their conscience by doing right to all, not selectively, occasionally, or conveniently, and most of all, always defending the rule of law. Doing the right thing does not require or demand hesitation when the conscience is alive and well. The conscience is the bedrock of our humanity. It is a guiding light when we are confronted by enveloping darkness. Call it an inner voice of what must be done or what is required of each and every one of us in confronting wrong and eradicating injustice. It is the fountain of inspiration when in crisis or when danger looms. It tells you when to retreat and when to stand your ground. A leader guided by his conscience will do the right thing because his conscience invariably tells him what is the right thing to do. Leadership with conscience will therefore not be obsessed with power, but rather with the mechanics of dispensing equitable service to all. Conscience therefore becomes a crucial talisman, especially in adversarial democracies that perpetuate and entrench the we and them mindset of division. We are living in times that require bold, courageous, and transformative leadership that inspires and motivates. A disturbing trend is the growing subservience of the nation state to political parties, superseding and in violation at times of the common good. And I have to remind our leaders that integral to the common good is the genuine, and I emphasize the genuine empowerment of women and young girls. As I've stated, a progressive transformational democracy must always be guided by service leadership with conscience rather than power leadership. Service leadership must always trump power leadership because service leadership generates peace. A leadership with conscience will not fall prey to the ravages of cult politics and identity politics. He will not be engaged in seeing what my political party can do for me or what I can do for my political party, with the critical needs of the nation state going a-begging. You see, ladies and gentlemen, cult politics and identity politics encourage and support an unholy alliance with silence in the face of patent wrong. Leadership, therefore, with conscience, will have at its core philosophies transparency, accountability, integrity, and good old-fashioned honesty. As men and women of conscience, we must have a disciple's tongue and bear witness to the positives of doing right to others in and out of leadership positions. I recall as a judge, I engaged my judicial conscience in the dispensation of my duties. Often it was characterized as judicial activism. In 2009, as a senior judge in the criminal bench in Trinidad and Tobago, I adjudicated the bail court. As a society, we were losing our young men between the ages of 17 and 30, generally to murder, gang warfare, and drugs. And as I coined, the man-child was in crisis. Young men, many on bail, were dying. And I began the Bail Boys Project as a working component of restorative justice. The Bail Act allows for conditions when an accused person is placed on bail. There is no system in my country analogous to bail houses as obtains in America. So the lower you are on the socio-economic scale, the lesser the possibility of you being able to obtain bail with surety. A prisoner on remand for very serious offenses, attempted murder, rape, violent robbery, assaults, was not afforded any structured life skills training on remand, primarily because then such training was exclusive to the convicted and not to the transient accused. They appeared before me, these men, bitter and vicious. Because of the long trial delays, I apologize to the accused for not having an early trial, something that was not done before. They were sent to probation welfare officers. They were further exposed to psychologists and experts, some who were brought on board voluntarily to deal with anger management, substance abuse, self-esteem issues, sex education, parenting, and fiscal management. And bank accounts were opened in their names. The probation welfare officer sought out jobs and got reports from employers and the industry. Family members, girlfriends, and close friends were part of the process, volunteering to keep the accused on the straight and narrow path. Remarkable bonding took place. They were placed on curfews, required to reside at specific addresses, and if illiterate, one of the conditions of bail was to attend literacy classes, and if literate, to enroll in courses that were beneficial to them. Curfews were relaxed on the basis of adherence and success and progress. Absenteeism would result in a breach of bail condition and possible revocation. Ladies and gentlemen, through the power of conscience-driven judicial action, recidivism declined. Dysfunctional families became whole, and many of the young men retrieved their sense of self-worth and self-esteem, and a personal life of crime was dismantled. Conscience-driven action should impact every aspect of human life, from our personal to our professional contributions, and particularly how we treat, preserve, and care for the environment. If we have an iota of conscience, we would adhere to basic intergenerational and intragenerational principles that will leave planet Earth a better place for the citizens of the world to come. As Madiba, Nelson Mandela stated in 2003, and I quote, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the lives we lead," end of quote. Corporate social responsibility can be a game changer, but it must be grounded in corporate social conscience. In the midst of commemorating World Autism Awareness Month, April 2021, I am minded to emphasize that there is need for a paradigm shift as it relates to CSR, consistent with the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. In conscience, it is the right and honorable thing to do. For far too often, persons with disabilities have been crying out for jobs and genuine inclusivity, stating in so many words, we want opportunity, not charity. The opportunity of jobs, yes, real jobs that do not patronize our competencies, qualifications, and capacities. Yes, opportunity that will facilitate the differently abled person becoming the CEO of any company or the member or chairman of a board in the public and private sector. I hope that in years to come, this inclusivity will be removed from the confines of CSR and become an accepted norm where persons with disabilities are given a fair and equal access to opportunity and success. And as we continue our conscience-driven advocacy, we must implore corporate society to align themselves with the triple bottom line accounting framework that takes into consideration people, profits, and planet, as opposed to the bottom line of framework concerned solely with profits by any means necessary. In other words, we must engage in a philosophy of people before profits. The triple bottom line measure measures the financial, social, and environmental performance of a company over time. The Harvard Business School stated, and I quote, "Adopting a triple bottom line approach may seem idealistic in a world that emphasizes profit over purpose. Innovative companies, however, have shown time and time again that it is possible to do well by doing good." Yes, doing good. The triple bottom line doesn't inherently value societal and environmental impact at the expense of financial profitability. Instead, many firms have reaped financial benefits by committing to sustainable business practices. End of quote. Mr. Abdul Basit Said, founder chairman of the World Humanitarian Drive, and his hardworking executive, must be commended for their four subsisting pivotal initiatives. The UN declared the 2nd of September as World Moral Day. The Science Bazaar to protect the innovation and inventions of our young scientists. Trade for peace. And more importantly, something in fact we need to do more often, honoring the honorable, exemplary men and women internationally who continue to work for sustainable peace. You see, ladies and gentlemen, part of International Conscience Day and part of the role of conscience is to awaken advocacy that enlightens the ignorant to make them more aware, that the indifferent becomes more responsive, the apathetic becomes more involved, the cold and the cynical to become compassionate and merciful, all with the view to making this world of ours a better, greater, fairer, and more equitable place. Conscience can therefore breed and nurture wisdom and vision because it is about nourishing and encouraging the ascendancy of the human spirit. Conscience-driven education must therefore be part of school curricula to help create better citizens of the world, real global villagers. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the student of today is the executive of tomorrow, and a conscience-driven executive will make for a better world. Finally, conscience-driven advocacy for just causes must be operationalized in real terms. A shining example of professional conscience at work are the Herculean efforts made by our medical and healthcare professionals around the world in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. This is reflected in the selfless efforts of those who put themselves and their families at risk to heal and to cure the infected. This daily pilgrimage, and it is a pilgrimage, of medical personnel and caregivers taking place in the wards and the ICUs of hospitals has led to a renewal of faith in the capacity and the conscience of each and every one of us that a culture of sustainable peace and universal cooperation and collaboration is possible, and most of all, confirming the oneness of our humanity. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.